long before towering stone cities scarred the earth, before iron roads split forests in two. There existed a land where the wind spoke softly and the rivers remembered every footstep. This land was Tsenakamaka, a vast and living world of emerald. Forests, golden fields, and endless waterways. Here, the Powhatan people lived in harmony with the rhythms of nature. They listened to the seasons, honored the spirits of the land, and believed that every creature feathered, furred, or rooted had a soul and a story. Among them lived a young girl named Pocahontas, whose name meant playful one. She was the daughter of Chief Powhatan, the great leader of many tribes. Though she was born into honor and expectation, Pocahontas did not walk the path others laid before her. She ran barefoot through the forests, climbed ancient trees, and paddled her canoe across misty rivers at dawn. The earth was her teacher, and the wind her closest friend. She spoke to the trees and listened when the river whispered secrets, and the river always answered. Chief Powhatan loved his daughter deeply, but his love was bound by responsibility. As leader, he carried the weight of his people's survival. He believed order, tradition, and strength were the roots that kept the tribe standing. Pocahontas, however, believed understanding was the strongest root of all. Your spirit is like the river, her father once said. It does not stay in one place. That is because it must flow, she replied gently. Powhatan worried. The world beyond their lands was changing. Strange stories traveled on the wind of floating villages on the sea, of pale-skinned men with thunder weapons and endless hunger for land. These strangers bring danger, Powhatan warned his people. We must be ready. Pocahontas listened, but her heart was restless. One morning, as the fog lifted from the water, giant wooden ships appeared on the horizon. The river shuddered. The birds fled. The land itself seemed to hold its breath. Men in strange clothing disembarked, carrying shining weapons and waving colored cloth. Their leader was Captain John Smith, a man of ambition and curiosity, whose eyes reflected both wonder and conquest. The Powhatan people watched from the shadows. Are they spirits? One whispered. No, said another. They are men, and men can be dangerous. That night, Pocahontas stood at the river's edge, staring at the unfamiliar shapes against the moonlit water. The wind spoke urgently. Change has come. Days later, while exploring the forest, Pocahontas encountered John Smith alone, studying the land as though it were something to be claimed. They froze when they saw each other. Fear and curiosity tangled between them. Smith lowered his weapon slowly. Pocahontas raised her hand, not in surrender, but in peace. They did not share a language. Yet something passed between them beyond words. She showed him the river, the plants that healed, the berries that fed. He showed her drawings of distant lands and spoke of a world across the sea. For the first time, Pocahontas realized the world was far larger and far more divided than she had imagined. As days passed, encounters between the Powhatan people and the settlers grew tense. The settlers demanded food and land. The tribe offered trade but refused submission. Fear grew into anger. Misunderstandings became threats. John Smith tried to speak reason to his people, but greed shouted louder than wisdom. Pocahontas stood between two worlds, one that raised her, and one that fascinated her. Why do your people want to own the land? She asked Smith. He hesitated. Because where we come from, land means power. She touched the earth beneath her feet. This land owns us, she said. One night, John Smith was captured by Powhatan warriors and brought before Chief Powhatan himself. The tribe demanded justice. The strangers bring hunger and death, one elder said. They take without asking. Another growled. Chief Powhatan raised his staff. Their leader will pay. When Pocahontas heard, she ran through the forest, her heart pounding like thunder. She burst into the clearing just as Smith was forced to the ground. No! She cried, throwing herself between him and the execution stone. Gasps echoed through the crowd. Father, she pleaded, if his life ends here, so does peace. Silence fell. Chief Powhatan saw not rebellion in her eyes, but truth. Slowly, he lowered his staff. Let him live, he said. John Smith was released, but peace remained fragile. The settlers continued to hunger for gold. The tribe continued to fear betrayal. Pocahontas worked tirelessly as a bridge bringing food, translating intentions, calming tempers, but even the strongest bridge can crack. One evening, Smith confessed he would soon return to his people across the sea. The world I come from will never stop coming, he said quietly. Pocahontas looked toward the river. I belong here, she said, and I will protect it. Violence erupted when settlers attacked a nearby village. Trust shattered. John Smith was wounded and forced to leave, believed by many to be dead. Pocahontas mourned, not just for him, but for the dream of peace. Seasons passed. She grew older, wiser, carrying grief like a quiet scar. Yet she never abandoned hope. Chapter 9. A new path. Years later, Pocahontas was taken to the settlers' world across the sea. There she saw towering cities and endless smoke. She learned their language, their customs, and their blindness. She spoke to kings and commoners alike. She told them of rivers that remembered names, forests that breathed, and people who lived not above nature but within it. Many listened. Some changed. Pocahontas never truly belonged to one world again, but her voice carried across oceans. Her story became legend. They say that when the wind rustles through the leaves or the river sings at dawn, her spirit still speaks. Listen, respect. Live in balance, for the earth remembers everything, and it never forgets those who loved it. The end.